Have you ever tried to start a lifestyle change before and ended up not seeing any results? Maybe you started exercising most days of the week, or you're eating better, or you're sleeping more, you're reading more often, and yet despite all these changes and the fact that you're sticking with them, you're not seeing any changes in areas you would have hoped. Maybe you're not more productive even though you're sleeping longer. You're not losing weight even though you're working out, and you're doing everything right, and yet you're not seeing changes. And even if you are seeing changes, maybe they're not as quick as you would have liked them to be. This can be really discouraging, especially when you're just starting out, and it can make you wonder if these changes are even worth it because you're not seeing any change in your life. Luckily, it's not because you're doing something wrong. Welcome back to another video in our Change That Sticks series. Today we're going to learn why it seems so hard for change to actually become visible in your life. And we're going to learn what we can do to stick with it even when we're not seeing the results that we're hoping for. Whenever we start a change, we want to see instantaneous results, all those quick fixes promised to us online. We think that the effort we put in will get us the exact same quantity of results. So if I am putting in a lot of effort, my results should be coming really quickly. We think change looks very linear, like this diagram. And you can see on the diagram that input, what we do, should equate to the same amount of output, what we get. But change doesn't work like that. Instead, it looks more like this. And this can be really discouraging because no matter how much input you put in, you're making very, very, very little progress, very little output for a long time. And then out of nowhere, we see a shift in our curve. And now little input gives us high output, up forever. This diagram is the idea of compound habits, meaning that for months at a time, you see very little yield, very little results, and then out of nowhere, your results skyrocket and continue going up even as you put less effort in. And it can be a hard concept to wrap our minds around, especially because we are so used to that linear diagram where input equals output. However, this diagram, in my opinion, is a much more realistic visual of what compound habits look like in our lives and how over time and over practice, our habits and their results are compounded so we get much, much higher yield the longer we stick with something. Now, I didn't come up with this, but for the life of me, I cannot remember where I first saw it. But the idea of compound habits has been around for quite some time. Unfortunately, when you're starting out, it's a very discouraging concept because for months after you start a lifestyle change and you start a new habit, you're still going to see very, very little progress. Most people quit right about here when they start a new goal, which is on the graph right before we get to the point of high yield results. But again, we can't see into the future. We don't know what's coming. All we see is what we have been getting so far. And it looks very linear and it looks like it's not worth the effort because what we're getting from it, our output, does not compare at all to all of the time and energy we are inputting into our lives. And so most of us are able to do a cost analysis and decide it isn't worth it. But if you stuck with it just a month more or a couple months more, you would be seeing very high output. And you would have to put in less input to get those results because you've built the habits over time. It's important for us, before building a habit, to remember this diagram when it gets difficult. Starting out with a new habit, you need to build up your form. You need to build up your endurance, your understanding, and your ability to complete the tasks required for that habit. You're perfecting your craft in a sense, and that takes a lot more time, and you don't see results because again, all you're doing are small changes to perfect that habit. But once that habit has become perfected, and once you are a professional at what you are doing, or once you have those skills in place to be good at that habit, you don't have to think, you don't have to put in as much input into what you are doing. And now your body and mind are focused on getting those results back. That is why the training part of any program is so rigorous and takes so long. If you're doing financial goals and you're trying to build your wealth, you need to spend months researching the best ways to improve your financial situation. You need to look up stocks, you need to look up all of the terminology, all of the ideas that go into a financial program. You need to do your research, you need to learn. But once you have hit that point where you are skilled and you know what you are talking about, then you can use what you've learned to get high yield results. That's why professionals seem to have to put in so much less effort to get so many more results. It's not that they're not trying, it's that they've already done the groundwork to become successful. And that groundwork is the part of our graph where most people give up because they're putting in a lot of effort and they're not seeing change. But now that we know this, we can play the game and we can change the system. Instead of giving up or expecting high yield results when you're starting out, you should be understanding that this is your opportunity to perfect your craft. You don't need to have a huge success story within the first months of change. You shouldn't have that either, because you are not skilled enough in your craft to get those results. You need to put in the time and the energy and the research to perfecting your goal, perfecting that habit. And then over time, you will see those results. And that is once you have become well-versed in what you're doing and once you know what you should be doing. So once again, simple solution, but not easy to do. When you're trying something new, don't be discouraged because you're not seeing results. Realize the results you're looking for are not an increase in salary or a sudden burst in your productivity at home or sudden weight loss. Those types of changes, until you have perfected your craft, are not going to help you. You need to instead be focused on building your skill, building your ability, and find tiny ways to increase or improve your habit, your changes, and to learn more about it. That research and that skill is slowly building you up to the point where you will be a professional. And once you are a professional in whatever you're trying to accomplish, you will see those high yield results. Don't give up. Stick with it. Remember, change is not linear. It's compounded over time and with lots of practice and hard work. Be willing to put in that hard work, and I promise you will see results. Hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, I will see you again very soon.